Welcome to Unbound, the podcast with Beth Curry, author, storyteller, and survivor. This is where books meet real life, where Beth reads chapters from her work and breaks free from the traditional audiobook format, diving deeper into the personal experiences, lessons, and liberation behind every page. Nothing is off limits. Let's get unbound.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Unbound. I am your host, Beth Curry. Today's chapter is called The Space Between, and it's about a unique kind of loneliness. You know, the loneliness of having a mother who's still here, but increasingly unreachable. My voice just cracked. I said unreachable, if you didn't get that. Dad's loss was sudden and complete. Mom's is gradual and ongoing, and I'm grieving someone who hasn't fully gone yet. This chapter is also about how my 19-year-old son, Crew, how he's learned loss far too young, in my opinion, and how creativity has kind of become his way of processing grief. The space between. There's a unique kind of loneliness in having a mother who's still here, but increasingly unreachable. While the loss of Dad was sudden and complete, a door closing without warning, Mom's gradual retreat creates a different kind of absence. She sits across from me at Willow Grove, physically present, but often mentally distant, and I find myself grieving someone who hasn't fully gone. When life presents its challenges now, I feel the void of parental guidance most acutely. There are moments when only a mother's wisdom would do. When I need the kind of counsel that can only come from the woman who's known me since before I took my first breath. But our roles have shifted. Now I'm the one providing comfort, maintaining connections, and holding memories safe. The term anticipatory grief feels clinical and cold compared to the reality of watching your parents slowly slip away. It's a complicated dance of loss and presence, of remembering and forgetting, of being both daughter and memory keeper. Some days I catch glimpses of the mother who always knew exactly what to say, only to have her fade again like sunlight behind clouds. Dad's passing, though devastating in its suddenness, had a certain clarity to it. The shock, the finality, those were emotions I could grasp, even as they overwhelmed me. But Mom's gradual departure creates a different kind of pain. Each visit brings small losses, tiny goodbyes, moments where I realize another piece of her has drifted beyond reach. The hardest part is knowing she's physically here while feeling increasingly parentless. When something wonderful happens or when life presents its challenges, I find myself reaching for a phone to call someone who can no longer fully engage with my news or troubles. It creates a peculiar type of solitude, being an adult orphan while your parent still lives. This strange space between having and not having a mother colors how I parent Crew. I find myself hyper-aware of creating memories with him, documenting moments that might disappear, trying to build the kind of emotional safety net I can no longer access for myself. Sometimes in the middle of mothering him, I'll have an instinct to call Mom for advice, only to remember that the mother I need in that moment isn't accessible anymore. There's an added weight to parenting when you feel parentless. Every decision, every milestone with Crew carries the echo of absence. Not just of Dad, who will never see his grandson grow older, but of Mom, who's here but can't fully participate in her grandmother role anymore. Oh, how she loved being his Nana. She was the first to know I was having him. She was with me through the pregnancy, she was with me through my labor, and in the recovery room after his birth. She always wanted to hold him and have him. She just loved him so much. I find myself trying to be both mother and Nana to Crew sometimes, preserving stories and creating traditions that would have been Mom's role if circumstances were different. The contrast between sudden and gradual loss plays out in my parenting, too. Dad's absence taught me the importance of saying everything that needs to be said, while Mom's gradual retreat has shown me the value of present moments, of connecting however we can, while we can. With Crew, this translates into a parenting style that tries to balance living in the moment with creating lasting memories. Sometimes I catch myself storing up wisdom for Crew, collecting life lessons and advice like squirrels gather nuts for the winter, because I know what it's like to need a parent's guidance and find that resource depleted. I want to give him enough mother wisdom to last a lifetime just in case. It's a strange feeling trying to prepare for his future needs while still processing my own sense of parental loss. Of course, at this age, he doesn't want to hear it, but I'm hopeful some things stick. The roles of mother and daughter have become tangled in new ways. As I mother Crew, I'm also mothering parts of myself that miss having a mom to turn to. When he faces challenges or celebrates victories, I feel both the joy of being his mother and the ache of not being able to share these moments fully with my own. There's something beautiful about watching Crew at 18, when I wrote this chapter, choose to spend time with his Nana. While many his age might find visiting a grandparent with dementia uncomfortable or awkward, he sees past the confusion to the joy these moments bring. He'll sit with her, engaging in conversations that might loop or wander, being so very patient, finding humor in her quirks rather than frustration in her repetition. His presence lights up her entire being, perhaps because he carries memories of both who she was and acceptance of who she is now. Parenting an 18-year-old is its own kind of memory preservation challenge. I find myself constantly navigating that delicate balance, wanting to document everything while respecting his need for independence. "Mom, enough pictures," he'll say, or, "Do you have to post that?" But watching Mom's memories fade has made me almost desperate to capture these fleeting moments of his transition to adulthood. His generation confounds me sometimes, the way they can be both startlingly mature and surprisingly dependent, how they navigate a world so different from the one I grew up in. One moment he's showing profound wisdom sitting with his Nana, and the next he's acting mortified to be seen with me in public. He can transition from deep conversations about life to rolling his eyes at my attempts to preserve a moment in a photograph. But seeing how quickly memories can slip away, both through time and through illness, makes me protective of even the eye rolls and the protests. Each, "Mom, you're so embarrassing," is its own kind of precious memory now. I want to preserve it all. His patience with his Nana, his impatience with me, his navigation of this complex space between childhood and adulthood. When he sits with Mom, I see 3 generations of love and memory interacting. Her fading memories, his forming ones, and me in the middle trying to preserve both. It's a gift that at 18 he understands the value of these visits, even if he doesn't fully grasp why I'm constantly trying to document every moment of his own journey. The bond between Crew and his grandpa was something special to witness. They were true buddies, sharing a connection that made Dad's sudden loss particularly devastating for Crew at 17. That first year after we lost Dad brought changes in Crew that were painful to watch. Grief, layered upon other traumas, all hitting during those already complicated teenage years. The boy who shared so many laughs with his grandpa had to navigate a world that suddenly felt less secure and less joyful. Now he sits with his Nana at Willow Grove, carrying both the weight of losing his grandpa and the gradual losing of her. He doesn't talk about it much. Maybe he can't find the words, or maybe he doesn't want to open those doors. When she asks about Dave, sometimes Crew just smiles, offering comfort through presence rather than just words. Watching him handle these profound losses fills me with both ache and pride. He's learning far too young how quickly life can change, how people we love can slip away in different ways, yet he still shows up, still chooses to spend time with Nana, still finds ways to connect even as she changes. There's a maturity in how he handles her confusion, a gentleness that reminds me of his grandpa. Sometimes I see echoes of Dad in how Crew interacts with Mom, that same patient humor, the ability to go with the flow of her shifting reality. But I also see the cost of all this change in his eyes sometimes, the weight of understanding, too young, that nothing is permanent. The influence of both grandparents on Crew runs deep. From his grandpa, he learned about quiet strength, about finding humor in small moments, about the kind of masculine grace that can hold both firmness and gentleness, and also how to swing a golf club. Through Nana, he absorbed creativity, the power of connection, and that special kind of wisdom that sees beauty in ordinary things. These early losses have shaped him during crucial years of development. 17 and losing his grandpa, then 18 and graduating high school, is already a time of intense change. Adding profound grief to that equation altered his trajectory in ways both visible and subtle. Yet from this crucible of loss, something remarkable has emerged. Like water finding its way through stone, Crew's grief has carved channels into creative expression. His self-taught piano playing speaks to something inherited from generations of artistic souls. His great-grandfather's musical abilities, my mom's spontaneous poetry, my writing, his great-grandmother's creative spirit. When his fingers find the keys, he creates beauty from memory, playing anything he hears with an intuitive understanding that seems to bypass the need for formal training. And his Nana loves it when he plays piano for her in the lobby at Willow Grove. His script writing, emerging during his high school years, offers another outlet for processing these complex emotions. Perhaps there's something healing in crafting narratives when your own family story has taken such unexpected turns. Through his writing, he can explore different endings, alternate realities, worlds where he has more control than the one that's dealt him such significant losses so young. I relate so much to this myself. Watching Crew's artistic evolution mirror his emotional journey has been remarkable. As his world grew more complex with loss, his music became more nuanced. What started as simple melodies evolved into complex compositions, each new piece seeming to carry the weight of another understanding, another goodbye, another acceptance of life's impermanence. His script writing, too, has deepened with experience, moving from straightforward narratives to exploring more complex themes. But this brings me back to my own journey through this landscape of parallel grief. Dad's death was the whole reason I returned to writing. My earlier works, rife with raw emotion and imperfection, left after my editor said I wouldn't regret not perfecting it. For those walking this path, know that your grief is valid. The confusion of loving someone who is simultaneously here and not here, the exhaustion of bridging the gap between past and present, the guilt that sometimes accompanies impatience or frustration, these are all part of this complex journey. We are the bridge generation, connecting our children to grandparents they're losing piece by piece, while trying to preserve enough memories to span the growing gaps in our family story. It's a heavy role, but one that comes with its own bitter beauty. In saving these stories, these moments, these connections, we're doing more than documenting loss. We're preserving love in all its complex, enduring forms. Each visit becomes a kind of emotional lottery. Will today be a day when she remembers Dad is gone? Or will I have to watch her heart break anew? Will she know Crew immediately, or will there be a moment of confusion before recognition dawns? The anticipation itself becomes exhausting, preparing for every possible version of Mom we might encounter. The professional caregivers tell us to meet them where they are, but no one prepares you for how many different places that might be, sometimes within the span of a single visit. One moment, she's the mother who raised me, offering astute observations about my life. The next, she's asking if I've seen her own mother recently. Each shift requires a quick emotional pivot, a mental recalibration that takes its toll over time. We are conditioned to believe that we are someone's child as long as our parents are living. But when the roles reverse, when we become the caregiver, the one making decisions, the one watching over them, the sense of being someone's child fades. Instead, we become guardians of their memories, caretakers of their bodies, and keepers of their dignity. This journey has taught me that loss isn't always marked by absence. Sometimes it's marked by presence, by sitting across from someone you love deeply while understanding that the relationship you once shared exists now only in your memory. The mother who knew every detail of my life, who could read my moods before I could name them myself, who held my history in her heart, now lives primarily in my recollections. Yet even in this space of ongoing loss, there are moments of profound connection. They might not look like they used to. They might be briefer, less coherent, more fragile, but they carry their own kind of beauty. These moments remind me that while so much has changed, love remains constant, even when its expression must adapt. I don't know how long this chapter of my life will last. I don't know how many more times I will hear my mother say my name, or how many more moments of clarity she will have. But I do know this. Even in the sadness, there is love. Even in the pain, there's meaning. And even in the slow goodbye, there are moments worth holding on to. If you are going through this, remember this. Your grief is real. Your love is enough, and no matter what, the bond you have with your loved one is never truly lost. It just changes form, lingering in memories, in quiet gestures, and in the unspoken understanding that love never truly fades, even when the mind does. I've spent a lifetime learning how to dance with my anxiety, but watching Mum fade has changed the music entirely. There's something uniquely devastating about watching the woman who once calmed all my fears become the source of my greatest anxieties. So I've talked about anticipatory grief a number of times in previous episodes, and I'm going to talk about it again. It makes it sound like you can kind of prepare for the loss that you're experiencing before it happens. Like you can grieve in advance and somehow soften the blow. But honestly, that's not how this works at all. Um, what anticipatory grief actually means is that you're grieving constantly. Every visit, every small loss, every piece of mom that drifts out of reach. You're not preparing for one big grief moment. You're living in this ongoing grief while the person is still here. And it's exhausting. Like, it's really friggin' exhausting. There's no resolution. There's no closure. There's no endpoint. It's just this constant low-level mourning mixed with moments of connection and presence, you know? You kind of exist in this liminal space where you have a mother and you don't have a mother at the same time. It sucks. Yay. How's that for cheer? What I didn't fully explore in the chapter is how disorienting it is to parent Crew while feeling like I've lost my own parents. Not literally, obviously, because mom is still here, but the mother I need for advice, for wisdom, for that specific comfort only your mom can give. You know, she's not accessible anymore. So I'm trying to mother Crew, even though he's a grown-ass adult now. And but I will always be a mom. I'm still a mom. I will always be a mom. He will always need me. Like, I know this because I know I still need my mom. But I'm trying to mother Crew while grieving the loss of being mothered myself. And it makes me like really friggin' hyper aware of every moment with him because I know what it's like to need your parent and find that resource gone. But then the trip of still having that parent living, but not there. I don't know. It's shit. It's probably too much pressure to put on myself, but watching memories disappear has made me like really frantic to create enough of them with him that he'll be okay when I'm gone. Yeah. So Crew's grief, like watching him lose his grandpa at 17 and now with what he's going through with his nana, it's been one of the hardest parts of this whole journey. You know, he loved his grandpa so much. They did a lot together and his grandpa really supported him. And, yeah. Anyway, the creativity that's emerged from his grief, the piano, self-taught, script writing, creating videos, creating in general, that's his way of processing what's too big for words. You know, music and stories give him control when life feels completely out of control. And I see myself in that. You know, writing became my lifeline after Dad died. I used to write a lot when I was little. I was very creative. And then I stopped, you know, but then Dad died and I needed to do it again. Painting wasn't cutting it for me anymore. I'm grateful that Crew has these outlets. You know, he found his own version. And yeah, I'm grateful that he has them, even though I wish that he didn't need them. So questions here. First one is from Rebecca. In The Truth About Rainbows, you talked about forgiving Brandon in 2015. Do you ever regret that decision? Does forgiveness feel different now than it did then? Rebecca, no, I don't regret it. Forgiveness wasn't about him deserving it or about what he did being okay. It was 100% abso-fucking-lutely about me refusing to let him keep controlling my life. Does it feel different now? Sometimes, you know, some days forgiveness feels complete and solid, and other days old anger resurfaces, and I kind of have to choose that forgiveness again. It's not a one-time decision. It's an ongoing choice, but I'm still glad that I made it because the chains are broken. Even if I sometimes feel their ghost weight, the chains are broken. I am no longer attached to that guy, and he is no longer controlling any part of my life. Next question is from Dan. You mentioned in Weather Balloons that your mom's spontaneous poetry still emerges. Do you worry that ability will fade too, and are you documenting all of it? Yeah, I worry about it constantly. I don't like to worry about stuff. Worrying does absolutely nothing for us, you know? So I don't like to worry, but I do, you know, sometimes maybe I overthink it constantly more than worry about it constantly. I am recording everything I can, every spontaneous poem that she comes up with, every creative moment, every spark of that gift that's always been uniquely hers. But, you know, what I've learned is that even if the poetry stops coming, what she's already created lives on, right? in the cards that she wrote to me and other people. And you're going to hear more about that in future chapters. In the poems that I've captured with my little voice recorder while, gathering for this book, in the memories of everyone that she's kind of touched with her words. It's there, it lives on. Creativity might be resilient to dementia, but nothing lasts forever. Absolutely nothing. So I document what I can, and I kind of try to appreciate each creative moment as the gift that it is, knowing that it might be the last one, which sucks, but it is what it is, right? Okay, so next episode, I'm going to continue on with more. If you have any questions, comments, anything I might be able to address on a future show, you can send them to me or join the Facebook group. Or if you want to support the show, all that information is in the show notes for you. Thank you for being here. Again, thank you for walking this path with me, and I will see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Unbound with Beth Curry. Join the conversation in the Facebook group or visit author.bethcurry.com. Want to support the show? Head to ko-fi.com/unbound podcast. Until next time, stay unbound.